You're watching Aurora 8, proud to be serving Aurora, Colorado, and all America City.
The Colfax corridor running from Aurora to Lakewood is home to thousands of children who've spent their entire young lives living in a motel room, or worse still, out of a car, and even some nights on the street. For these kids, except for the routine of going to school, their lives are often chaotic and unstructured, and they may find themselves frequently left on their own or in the care of siblings while parents are at work. They may often go without a real meal and can find themselves victimized in many different ways. Fortunately, there are several organizations that are stepping in and offering real help and hope for these kids. One of those organizations focusing specifically on the Colfax corridor is the Colfax Community Network. It offers not just meals for hundreds of kids living along Colfax in dozens of motels, but it also offers a chance for structure in their lives and to have positive experiences. In short, it's a lifeline, helping these kids rise above the circumstances they have been born into. The director of the Colfax Community Network is Jennifer Herrera. She is our guest coming up on Dateline Aurora. Oh, I love our theme song. It's still fun. Greetings and welcome to Dateline Aurora. I'm Adam Dempsey. If you find the subject of homelessness, hunger, and poverty makes you a bit uneasy, well, you're not alone. It's a tough subject to deal with for many reasons, especially when it exists in your own community. But it's also a very real subject and one that our guest tonight faces head-on every day. Her name is Jennifer Herrera, and she's the executive director of the Colfax Community Network. Jennifer, welcome.
Thank you for having me on
You
the
get
show.
to take a few moments off to come see us because you work all the time.
I do.
This is no easy thing you do. Before we get into those things that you do and what the network is doing, as we mentioned a while ago, the issue of homelessness is something that a lot of people don't like to talk about. They don't even want to refer to it at all. Why do you think that is?
I think that for many of us, our images and our understanding of homelessness is very specific. Most people, when they think of the homeless, they think of single males that are panhandling or harassing them on the streets. I don't think that the majority of people realize that the majority of the homeless are actually children. And I don't think we think of children when we think of homelessness.
No, we don't. We usually think of adults all the time, but you're right. Children are the biggest group and the most vulnerable of the group. Now, there are a lot of organizations that exist to fight poverty and homelessness, but you specialize in the Colfax corridor, to start with, in children. Why did those two come together like that?
So the founder of the organization that I'm working with now, Maggie Tidwell, experienced the issue by working in the schools. She uncovered a what we call a no, I forgot what I was going to say.
Yeah, they sometimes can have trouble. There's no doubt about it. That's where it comes from. You start in school, and you have to do things in school because a lot of times teachers are required to look at students and see if they're being abused and that kind of stuff. So a lot of good positive things can grow out of helping kids at school. No doubt about that. So the kids that you're helping, though, they're not just victims of poverty, but they have poor and marginal living situations. I couldn't do it. And they can fall victim to all kinds of predatory crimes, too. Does that happen a lot?
So what I was trying to say is that there's this undiscovered group of children that are living in these hotels and motels that are being victimized on a daily basis. Children who are living on the streets or in hotels, often unsupervised and don't have appropriate areas to play, are easy prey for predators. Those predators range from drug dealers who need kids to move product for them. They're pedophiles. Many of the hotels are actually home to registered sex offenders. So they are living amongst other predators, and they are being victimized.
So the sex offenders that people in neighborhoods get upset about don't want them living in our neighborhood.
Right.
They end up in the motel, and they're right here with some of the kids that they violated in the first place.
Absolutely. And in some cases, unfortunately, the children's own family members are involved in criminal activity. So we have had children in our program whose parents are involved in prostitution or drug dealing. I would say 99 to 100% of our children have some form of PTSD from the trauma that they experience from witnessing crime, from being involved in criminal activity, or from being abused or neglected.
I mean, they grow up way too soon.
Really soon.
Way too soon.
We have children as young as 7 or 8 years old who know things that they shouldn't really know. And their play is absolutely inappropriate for their age level because of what they've seen.
Well, before we get into the other detail of what you and the Colfax network are doing, it takes an extraordinary, pretty special kind of person to do the work that you do. What attracted you to it? Because, as we said at the top of the show, at least you're here, and you get to take a break for a bit. What attracted you to doing this?
I grew up in a community not unlike the one that I currently work in. I understand the challenges that the children face in order to rise above their circumstances. I've always been involved in working with underprivileged and underrepresented populations. So for me, it was a natural progression to move into this position. I was actually recruited by one of the board members to apply for the position through my work in other areas, but children, education, and solving problems are my passions.
And a lot of people, when you tell them what you do, they totally misinterpret what you do, and some of them call you an activist.
So when I first became politically aware, I suppose, or aware of the social injustice that exists in the community, I attended a press conference, and I was labeled in the newspaper as an activist. And honestly, I was just a curious, concerned citizen at that point, and I didn't understand where the label came from.
Activist. Well, you know, I guess they could say you're an activist for the homeless. You're an activist for making sure these kids grow up to be productive citizens and grow beyond the circumstances, as the lead said, that they are born into. No doubt about that. A lot of the kids, or a number of them, are kids of color and Latino kids, African American kids. Is there a reason why you end up seeing more of them on the corridor than
absolutely.
other culture groups?
Along the Colfax corridor, we have a large immigrant and refugee population, so there are a lot of children from all over the world. And when you have a population that are new Americans or who are in transition from another country who don't necessarily speak the language, it is a challenge to become assimilated and to find appropriate work and to provide for your family. So absolutely, those are a big part of why we see some of the different groups that we do see. But in terms of like African American children and some Hispanic children who've been here for generations, and absolutely we have a large number of white children as well. It really is a very diverse group, and I think people would be surprised exactly who are the homeless children that we see. But realistically, we see every race, color, creed. You know, poverty does not discriminate.
No, it doesn't. It'll come knocking at your door in a heartbeat. A job today, no job tomorrow.
Yes, and with the economy the way that it has been recently, we have seen increasing numbers of families that are falling into homelessness for the very first time. Working families where someone is actually going to work every day and yet unable to maintain housing, We've seen families fall into homelessness through no fault of their own, where they were renting a house and the landlord stopped paying the rent or the mortgage, and they were foreclosed, and they came home to find their possessions on the front lawn. Now, how many of us could
Wow.
recover from that in a very short period of time? Do you have enough reserves in the bank? Do you have enough credit on your credit card? And then once you find yourself in that difficult situation, maintaining your job, finding your documents that someone else packed into boxes, it's not hard to imagine falling into a very difficult situation without a family support system or friends that will help bail you out.
Oh yeah, no doubt about that. At one point you were feeding, with the Colfax network, you were feeding about 150 children a day, and I think this summer you wanted to get up to 1,000. Ooh, talk about a leap.
Absolutely. So we were approached last summer, about a week before the summer began, by an organization that's a statewide organization called Hunger Free Colorado.
Yeah.
They saw what we were doing in the community and thought we would be a good match to provide breakfast and lunch meals to children along Colfax Avenue. We jumped at the chance because it is definitely in line with our mission, which is to advocate and provide services for at-risk and disadvantaged youth. It was not hard for us to take that leap, and then when we discovered more information about our community, stuff we already knew, but to quantify the number of children that were actually food unstable during the summer months and eligible for food, in the zip code where our building is, we have a 100% eligibility for free and reduced lunch.
Yeah.
So every child was eligible to participate in a food program. There are literally 15,000 eligible children within a 2-mile area of our building. So for us, 150 just wasn't enough. And getting to 1,000 feels like a mountain to climb, but we reached out to every church group, every organization, everyone we could get a hold of, by email, by phone, by carrier pigeon, and said, help us feed 1,000 children. People thought it was a big number, and it is a big number, and it's not easy, and it takes everybody that cares to come out and provide the support. I mean, we don't have the budget to provide staff to supervise and feed and care for 1,000 children, but we have, you know, a community of caring adults and young people that can come out and support what we're doing, and that's the way that we feel we'll get to that number this summer.
Just the logistics of that, and you have one building. Colfax is what, long enough for a marathon, 27 miles across, and they have to come to you. So you have to help them.
Right, and
get
actually
there
we're going
too?
to them.
Oh, you're going
to them. We actually
explain
have.
us how it works then.
So what we decided to do was to provide the meals where the children actually are.
Yeah.
Because the children don't have transportation to get to us. So we take the meals, we set up a site, perhaps in, for example, last summer we were in a hotel parking lot. We might be in a park near their homes. We might be in a apartment complex parking area or playground. We are currently serving 7 different sites along Colfax Avenue, from east of the 225 on Billings all the way to Newport and East Denver.
And those are some of the kids there enjoying. Oh, 7 sites, and when you're doing breakfast, lunch, and dinner?
We're only able to do lunch this year.
You're only able to do lunch, but you're doing it simultaneously. So therefore, you got to have people at all 7 sites at once, food at all 7 sites. And happy kids. You know, you wouldn't think that they're having to endure this the way they are. How are the parents taking to it? Because especially the ones that are working and you're feeding their kids, do they feel like maybe it makes them feel that they're not doing as well because of it, or are they welcoming you to help them?
Oh, the parents that we do encounter seem to really like what we're doing. We also try to provide them with fresh produce that they can take home, so they're happy to see us when we're there. But in general, this is a program for children. We don't see every child's parent. We don't see a lot of parents. So it's a way for us to provide supervision for children who may not have supervision during the day. My experience working in along the Colfax corridor has been to witness small groups of children just roaming free, in involving themselves in activities they shouldn't be involved with, whether it's vandalizing or breaking windows or getting involved with drugs or alcohol, you know, and sexual activity at a very young age. we're hoping that we can provide them with a connection to caring adults who will provide them with guidance and concern, so that they will have structured activities to participate in and don't get led into other activities that we really, as a community, don't want them involved with, and as an individual, I really don't want them involved.
I know you just said structured activities, so recreation.
Absolutely.
Recreation is real important. You take them on field trips and that kind of thing. Tell us how those work.
So we have, we also have, in addition to our summer food program, which provides, we don't just provide food at the summer food sites. What we provide are games and balls, and actually we have a group from Platt College of Nursing that's going to be working with the children on health-related education activities.
Yeah.
So they've designed these units where children will play games and learn about nutrition. They'll learn about hygiene. They'll learn about how to keep from being bullied or victimized.
Yeah.
So that's some of the stuff that we're doing that's a structured activity at the different sites. In addition to our summer food program, we have programs for homeless children at our site, and those are programs that we register the children. We have an after-school program that runs during the school year. We literally pick children up from school, bring them back to our facility, feed them dinner, do 30 minutes of homework with them every day, provide them with enrichment activities from arts and crafts and music to, you know, just playing games and everything like that. And then every Friday is field trip day, so we literally find either a park or a field trip to a educational activity that's $3 or less per child. We have to feed our kids on $1 a day because we have a very small budget, and we have to find activities that are inexpensive that the kids can really gain from. So we'll visit a college campus, for example, or we'll take them to the mountains, which many of these kids haven't ever visited.
Yeah, that was what I was going to pick up. You have a summer camp too, right? Now that's up in the mountains?
So what we do with our summer program is we do 6 weeks of summer camp on our facility, and then at the end of summer we take a group of children for 4 days into the mountains to have a real camp experience.
And many of these kids have never been in the mountains before.
Many of them haven't.
They see them, but they don't get a chance to get there. That's got to be fascinating to watch them there among the trees going, wow, this stuff is really here.
You know, the most exciting thing is the way that they experience the mountains as a peaceful place. It's a very different world up there from down here. And one of the children that was with us last summer, he said to another friend when they were just chit-chatting that it was peaceful and that there wasn't anybody yelling at anybody there. And so something as small as peace and quiet for some of these children is huge. And the fact that they, all of them for the first time experienced what it was like to go fishing or hiking or gold panning or shoot a bow and arrow.
Yeah, that's them up there now, right?
Yes, for them it's a huge door opening. It's something they've never seen before or witnessed before and may never have had opportunity to see.
It's got to be fascinating to watch that, you know, but
this is camouflage.
Camouflage. A cross between camouflage and Halloween.
Yes.
Kids, it always works like that, doesn't it? That is just tremendous. But for them to have some downtime up there, you never think about that, you know.
It's a break from their families. It's a break from the streets. It's a break from the noise that they hear on a daily basis, leading them in the wrong direction.
So organizations assist, contribute, some of the major ones do?
Yeah, we, our funding comes from foundations and individual donations and fundraisers.
And individuals can help as well?
Absolutely. We couldn't do the work we do without volunteers. We actually have church groups and high school kids come in, college students. Without those volunteers providing that extra help, kids wouldn't get the one-on-one quiet silent reading that they get. We read to them during the summer months. We participate in the library's literacy program. During the school year, we try to achieve a 1-to-1 ratio of volunteers to children so that each child is getting assistance with their homework for that 30-minute block. And really it's in reinforcing that we value them, and those adults and those young people that come to help and spend that time with them, we tell the children, these people are doing this because they care about you. They're not getting paid, but they love you as a person, and that's why they're here, and that's so valuable to our kids.
In a moment, we'll give you a chance to give the website and phone number for volunteers. I want to cue the audience so they can go get the piece of paper and the pencil right now. One of the organizations that's helping RTD and Aurora build the East Rail Line, Cubitt, I think, picked you all to be their nonprofit of the year or something like that. That's got to be exciting. Then,
it was
right?
a wonderful surprise for us. They had a golf tournament, and they raised $7,000 and chose our network as to receive that donation. And for us, that's a huge, huge help. Like I said before, we feed our kids on $1 a day, so I like to quantify 7,000 meals from one donation. And you know, to raise $7,000 is a big task, and so I really have nothing but a big thank you for Cubitt for choosing us and for making such a huge impact in the community.
Yeah, and Aurorans need to know the quality of the companies that are here constructing light rail and doing other work in Aurora. They're also reaching out and supporting organizations that are helping kids and helping those people that need to do that. Early in the show, you talked about you have to make sure your kids are eating on $1 a day?
$1 a day.
Now, come on, that's less than the value meal at McDonald's. How do you make that work?
Well, a lot of what we do is depend on in-kind donations. So there are groups that provide us with fruits and vegetables. We have partnerships with an organization called We Don't Waste. We Don't Waste literally picks up food that's going to be discarded from caterers and venues like the Pepsi Center and growers, and they redistribute that food to nonprofits like ours who have food pantries like we do and who feed children. And then we're able to take that, that fresh food and provide it to our kids. And then we're just very, very frugal. We shop at the Food Bank of the Rockies. Another organization that provides us with food that they pick up from Sprouts Market is Nehemiah Global Foundation. And so we're receiving bread items, we're receiving dairy items that would literally be discarded because it's not sellable, and we're using that food to augment the healthy diets that we provide our children. And all of the meals that we give to our kids satisfy the USDA food guidelines. We try to provide a fresh fruit and vegetable at every meal. We never provide soda or chips. We do have birthday parties, thanks to Birthday Smiles. They provide our kids with birthday parties once a month, and so we do allow a cupcake at that point. But and the other thing we do is provide clothing. Our kids don't always have the appropriate clothing to go to school, for example, school uniforms. So we raise money and try to get folks to donate school uniforms so that our kids can have the appropriate clothing so they don't show up dirty, socks and underwear. I have children in my building every day who don't own clean socks and underwear.
Wow. We said we're going to give you a chance to give the website and the telephone number. Do it now. They should have their pencil and piece of paper so they can either donate or become volunteers.
Absolutely. You can find all the information about us at colfaxcommunitynetwork.org. And our telephone number is 303-360-9175.
That's Colfax Community Network is one word.
colfaxcommunitynetwork.org.
How long has the network been active then?
The network has been here 14 years.
For 14 years.
14 years.
And ask that question, have you had any kids that come back as adults and say thank you?
We have,
or come back to volunteer?
We have had kids come back. It's a mixed bag. Some of them come back to do their court-ordered community service, unfortunately. But some do. I mean, we haven't been here long enough to have our kids really grow up and come back because we've only been in operation for 14 years, but we do have some young people that are graduating from high school. And if you know what the statistics are for homeless children and the rates of graduation, you know it's less than 1%. So the fact that we have had some kids graduate from high school is an accomplishment, it is a success. And so we count those as successes.
Oh yeah, for sure, and there's no doubt about that. Donations they can give. Now they can't. Can they give food or not give food? Non-perishable
food items can be donated, absolutely. We will take donations of fresh fruits and vegetables, absolutely. And gently used clothing, games, balls, toys, We definitely need the outdoor play equipment for the kids for the summer months. Sidewalk chalk is in demand.
So
Bubbles and sidewalk chalk.
yeah.
And balls and hula hoops and jump ropes. We can't get enough of those at this point. And then we also are providing the kids with art supplies, so crayons, and at the beginning of the year we do a school supply drive as well. So all the school supplies that can come in during the summer we'll have, and we also do events at Easter and Christmas. So at Easter time we actually provide a huge Easter egg hunt in Delmar Park, and every child receives a book and school supplies and a toy and some candy.
And some candy. Candy's always good. That always works.
So use books, gently used toys, gently used clothing. It doesn't have to be new.
And cash also
works.
Cash works well. Cash is
Absolutely.
huge.
It's important to us because we have to pay rent. We have to pay our. I have to pay my staff their salaries because as little as they actually earn, they deserve a lot more, but they don't do it for the money. They do it because they love these kids, and I still do have to find ways to pay their salaries. So absolute cash donations is a help to us. We work with a skeleton crew, but we're able to, with a staff of 4 to 5 people, serve about 14,500 people a year.
14,500 a year?
Yes.
And this is an organization that you can help outside of Christmas.
Absolutely.
Because everybody wants to do something for Christmas, and you get in the middle of June and like, hey, where are all these people? But you can take donations throughout the year. You can take the volunteer support throughout the year.
Absolutely.
And 14,000, that's a lot of folks.
It is a lot of folks. We serve a lot. We serve about 300 people a month in our food pantry. And it's not the same 300 every month, so it's a lot of folks. And with the children, now we're able to serve 1,000 children this summer. We're going to probably have an increase in number.
Where do you want to take the network? What's the next level step that you would like to see it be able to do and accomplish?
Well, my dream for the network is to provide the after-school programming and summer camp opportunities for more children. We have slots only available to about 25 kids at this point, and we have a waiting list. There are 300 children that are eligible for our program.
Really?
So obviously we don't have the capacity to fill the need. I would love to see the need go away, but until that happens, I wish we could provide that service to every child that needs it.
And we were talking at the top of the show how quickly people can become unemployed and need the help and that kind of thing. So Colfax Community Network, if you cannot help them, you can refer them as well, right?
So in addition to all of our children's programs, we have what we call wraparound services for families, because children come from families. And so if we can't keep a family stably housed, we can't keep a child stably in school. And once a child loses that stability at school, they lose 4 months of their education every time they switch schools. So they fall further and further behind. So we try to refer homeless families along the Colfax corridor to programs, shelters, assistance, education, career, whatever we can do to help them to be stable so that those children can have stability and structure in their lives and remain in their home school.
And you need volunteers with language skills too, right?
Absolutely.
Because that long corridor, you probably speak more than just English and Spanish.
Absolutely.
There's no doubt about it. Great work you're doing.
Thank you.
Great, great, great work. So we want to take a moment to thank you for being here, and ColfaxCommunityNetwork.org. It's a place where they can get more information. Ms. Jennifer Herrera, the Executive Director of the Colfax Community Network. She has been our guest on this edition of Dateline Aurora. And we thank you for watching us, and we'll see you here for our next one next month. Good night.
You're watching Aurora 8, proud to be serving the all-America city of Aurora, Colorado.